I wanted to ask you, and I only got you for a little while longer, and I'm really thankful for you to make time for me today. I wanted to ask you about what's with the rest of you guys, you lefties, and not embracing new tech like you have. That I have great respect that I know why you're there because you have some opinions around the no topics, but what can people do how can you convince some more of your cohorts to support new tech? Do we need to brand it like fight the power, YouTube's a monopoly? Why do you think the left or progressives haven't embraced new tech as much?
And when you say new tech, you mean like Rumble?
Rumble, yeah, stuff that's
Okay,
more like free speech link.
because the propaganda machine wants you to think that that's right wing. And so anything that is a threat to the establishment, they immediately call it white supremacy, racist, just like the Wuhan virus, right?
Right.
So remember, if you said it came from a lab, that was a white supremacist, that was a racist
You were
conspiracy theory.
deplatformed for that too.
You would get the platform. So that's why. So that's what happened. And a lot of people take the bait and they think that's what it is. That Rumble is some kind of right wing thing. Russell Brand's over there. I'm over there. Glenn Greenwald's over there. Due Dissonance is over there. There's lots of people who would consider them. Well, I don't know if Glenn Greenwald doesn't call himself a liberal. I don't know what he calls himself. But so yeah, I mean, again, a lot of our perceived differences between the left and the right are manufactured by the establishment to keep us divided.
The bread and circus of the whole nonsense. If I could go back, I just wanted to put a highlight on what you said, if I can, about
Sure.
the people that cheered for, one of the things I did cover, like I know people that went to prison for January 6th. And, while I do agree that there were some definitely people doing stuff they shouldn't have been doing that day, how they treated them, right? Putting them in prison without a trial, some of them, this kind of stuff, right?
Over sentencing them.
Right. Absurdly long sentences. The same people that cheered for that, like you said, they're getting it crammed in their faces now on the college campuses, which lead to I had a question about the college campuses thing, because as an outsider, with somebody with less experience in life about, people protesting than you would have. When I see the stuff on college campuses, I'm like, hey, cool. Don't break the law. You're good. Everything's good. I may not agree with you. I may think you kind of goofy, this, that, and the other thing. But at the end of the day, I support you doing that. I'm worried, though, about when I read these articles. Do you think they're all BS when they say, hey, there's people here who are paid protesters? There's like inner infiltrators that are bad actors. How do you think do you think that's like that's the exception, not the rule? Do you think most of these kids at these campuses that, like, let's say, University of Washington right now is still they still have an encampment, I think, or they had one as of yesterday. Do you think that there are people sending bad actors in there, the ones that are breaking into buildings? Or are these just people that are getting too caught up in it?
I mean, if history is any guide, it happens all the time. Yes, I mean that's what happened. I mean, go back to the WTO protests in the late 90s. Those are agent provocateurs, they call them, right? And during Black Lives Matters, we saw the same thing. We saw cops who were in black masks or people working for intelligence agencies and police agencies going around breaking windows, starting fires.
Same thing.
January 6th.
We got to go into the Capitol.
Like, that's right. Those are all feds. Those are all feds doing that. And then when asked in a session of Congress, when they asked the head of the FBI, did you have FBI assets inside the Capitol dressed as Trump supporters? They wouldn't answer that question.
Yeah.
So yes, of course, so of course that's happening. Of course they're infiltrators and everything, right? And
how do you combat that? Like, how would you arm these kids? Like, I feel like if I wanted to get my cause out, because there's that kind of famous footage. Now, I don't remember. I don't think he got charged with anything. I think it was the Ray Epps stuff, where there were basically people are like, he was the one. Like, I think he was the one that said, "We got to go into the Capitol."
Ray Epps.
Yeah. Like, and that crowd like kind of immediately identified him.
Fed. Yeah.
So then when these kids on college campuses, I wish that they would kind of, I guess it's maybe youth, but like when I see the videos, when a normie sees these videos of people, breaking into the buildings at Columbia and barricading the door and holding the janitors against their will, I don't know if they really did or didn't. This stuff is like, I wish that people could do better to police their own in these type of events. I think it's self-defeating because all you need is one idiot and it discredits you. And I guess how do you say
I think in general they've done I mean, I'm not an expert on it. I haven't been following it as closely as others, but from what I can tell, that they've been doing pretty good. There's that video of that one Jewish woman or Israel supporter. She went out in one of those protests and she was screaming, "I'm a Jew, look at me," and nobody paid her any attention. So
Yeah.
they knew. So I think that's how it goes most of the time. And of course, most of the violence, obviously, even what's surprising was I saw CNN do a report that highlighted the violence of the counter protesters, meaning the people supporting Israel, that they're the ones who
CNN aired that.
Yes, CNN aired. I was just like, are you kidding me?
Huh.
So, yeah, I guess they couldn't ignore it. So, anyway, yeah. So, again, I'm always for peaceful protests, and the fact that they have to crack down so immediately and so hard, and they have to be so over the top, shows you that it's actually working. I saw the CEO of Palantir, which is a CIA cutout. He was on a panel with General Milley, and he said that
The white rage guy? Is that what
we,
Milley?
is that who he is? Well, anyway,
I feel like anyway, yeah, I feel like Milley I thought he was the guy that testified about white rage.
Oh yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
And so this guy from the CEO of Palantir, he said that we have to shut down these protests right away because if we lose the intellectual battle, we'll never be able to deploy a Western army anywhere else in the world. Well, I don't think that's true.
That would be great, though.
Yeah, I agree. But you see how serious it is to them. That's why they are overreacting like that. That's why they were allowed to burn down police stations during Black Lives Matter and nobody went to prison for it, right? Because that wasn't really a threat to the establishment. In fact, they were using that. My theory on Black Lives Matter protests, which whatever happened to Black Lives Matter organization?
I think Patrice Cullors is doing all right.
Yeah. So the reason why that was allowed to happen, and a lot of that was stoked by the FBI and the intelligence communities, was because they wanted to create an environment of chaos that scared people, so they wouldn't vote for Donald Trump because they would be afraid of civil wars coming. Yeah. And that's exactly who wants that. And chaos always favors the establishment, and that's why January 6th was treated totally different than Black Lives Matter protests.
That was one of the things on the outside looking in. That was a real moment for me, like a growing up moment where I was like, what is happening here? Like, yes, I could see the footage. I could see that people were trespassing or there were laws being broken. And then I was like, why is this guy getting 9 years in prison? Why is some little granny getting prison time?
Right.
I just watch these
mob with no guns. People with no guns, not one gun in sight. And that's how you know it's a lie, because they said, again, even when Cornel West came on my show, I said, hey, why do you call Donald Trump a fascist, but you don't call Joe Biden a fascist? Black and brown people are locked up at much higher rates than their population, not because of Donald Trump, but because of Joe Biden, right?
Yeah, and the war on crime or the war on drugs.
His only answer to me was to call me a Trumper, but
well-established Trumper Jimmy Dore, ladies and gentlemen.
I wish I was kidding. That's how frail and weak and poorly arguing to Cornel West is. But he said Donald Trump tried to overthrow the peaceful transfer of power on January 6th. And I go, really? A bunch of Second Amendment gun nuts showed up at the Capitol to overthrow the government and they forgot their guns? Do you really think that's what happened? You don't think that we're just there? They were pissed off protesters just because they thought that their election was stolen, just like the other half of the country thought the election was stolen by Russia in 2016.
Remember when Hillary Clinton, did you see Bette Midler with the hilarious cell phone this week? She tweeted out, imagine where the world would be if Hillary Clinton had denied the election results in 2016.
She did deny the election results.
Right, yeah, people immediately replied to her with like a dozen examples of it.
That's right. Yeah. I didn't see that. Yeah, She did it constantly. She said Donald Trump's an illegitimate president, that
Yeah.
Russia hijacked our election, all that stuff. She funded that.
But they didn't hijack the one in 2020, just the
Yeah,
one in 2016. They just
they got it all figured out. Russia was able to hijack in 2016, but they just forgot how to do it in 2020.